today's show. We've got stage 3 of the tour. Welcome everybody. Between Two Wheels podcast. It's a long stage. It's tailor-made for the sprinters, which means it's a boring prospect until about 5 kilometers to go. Will the GC change? How will the sprinters teams do? And will we have a clean sprint? Can the French make it 3 in a row? We'll do a few corrections as well. It's the 111th edition of Tour de France, Stage 3, Piacenza to Torino. This is the Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 347, right now.
Massive number of people have been upgrading. Yes,
there you go. You see the graceful limb that you were talking about before.
The race we've got yet again, and a victor then goes victory to an American, Andy Hampton.
The felt it go by. He looks at the Colombian rider. How are you doing?
Straight past Santiago Patero, and he's coming up to Pantani.
Armstrong is sitting in the last few hundred meters as we come towards the finish of this monumental stage. And
as we start to approach the line now, Pantani grits his teeth and accelerates and over the line.
Is going now to win stage number 15. Sepp Kuss, an emotional finish from Durango in the USA. Sepp Kuss wins.
Back, stage 3, 200 and some kilometers. This is Tyler Yonke, Between Two Wheels podcast. We're hitting all these stages. Thanks for tuning in with us this morning. Once again, you put your notifications on, you're going to find out that I'm actually going live or at some point. I'll try to give you an idea of when this is going to be. I said, hey, today we're going to do a morning show. Tomorrow, not possible. I got to go to court. So afternoon, probably somewhere close to noon. Should I look at my schedule? No, we'll just do it. Maybe I'll even schedule it out ahead of time. However, my court thing tomorrow, it can go 8:30. I'm scheduled to be there from 8:30 to 4. So, but probably be done at noon. That's just the whole idea. All right, let's get into this a little bit. I said there was some possible corrections. I wanted to say a few things. As soon as yesterday I got off the show, I was closing down all my screens and stuff, and I saw a picture of the peloton. And there was Biniam Girmay, and I'm like, I did not mention Biniam. And then I'm watching the race today, and they're not really working for him. So I'm like, okay, so I guess no big deal there. There are 3 things I want to talk about real quick, though. One is I had mentioned Ayuso leading in, and that he had trouble at Milano San Remo. Paul Mitchell reported in here, he says, I think it was Isaac Del Toro that was out of position for Pogacar in MSR. Exactly right. Thank you. That's why I was like, help me out on that. So anytime, people, if you want to help me out and you want to give me some corrections, please do so. My opinions are not to be disturbed or to be pushed back again. I'm kidding. But definitely, if I'm saying something out there and I'm throwing shit out, let me know, because I can be like Paul and Phil, getting things wrong. Which today I did hear. Look, I love those guys, but I'm just not my prime people I listen to. So I'm actually have them on when I got up this morning before I was able to get Tiz going to at least watch that. And they're talking about the sprint because, why wake up early to see the stuff that's not going to make a difference? And Phil says, he goes, well, we have all the big sprinters here this year. Sometimes they don't show up at the race, but this year we have all the big sprinters. So we don't have Caleb Ewan, we don't have Miller, there's Merlier, whoever it is. There's several ones that aren't here, and that was my issue talking about that yesterday, that we don't quite have everybody here at the race, and sometimes those guys get it wrong, and we do too. So yes, it was Del Toro. Hugo had also mentioned that Del Toro is not even at the race. And I think he had deleted that comment because completely right. I wasn't talking about Del Toro, and then I think he misunderstood perhaps what Paul said when he said, I think it was the Del Toro with the MSR. So take that back. And Ayuso, what I do like about Ayuso, if you ever listen to his commentary, he speaks amazing English. I think it was from the ages of like 6 to 9 or 12 or somewhere in that range. I think it was like 6 years. He lived in Florida, so he's from Spain, but he speaks very good English, and he's got a lot of understanding of the American culture, whatnot. So I like. Is that why I like the guy? I like the guy because one, he's a good writer, and two, I like to have people that I could hear the interviews. It helps you understand them a little bit better as far as some personal stuff. That's also why Roman Bardet is a guy that I enjoy, because he'll talk in English to the camera and to reporters. Okay. That was one thing. Another thing I talked about yesterday was positioning for the top 4 guys. You had Tadej, you had Jonas, you had Remco, in second place, then Jonas, and then Carapaz. They're all the same on time, but the positioning for stages is what really did it. So if you're, and they do a count back on that. And so today I was like, look, I gave a breakdown that Evenepoel could get himself in the yellow jersey based on this, but then I started thinking about it this last night, and I'm like, Carapaz, that's the obvious choice, because think about everyone else. Remco, he's going to hang in on the climb, and he might take the yellow jersey at the on the time trial. Jonas has worn the yellow jersey. Tadej did not seem to be even wanting it yesterday in his interviews. You can kind of tell that. He wants it eventually, and it's, as he said, you never turn down the yellow jersey. That's kind of what he kept saying. Matter of fact, some ladies asking him a question that's a little more pointed about working, and he's like, you just never turn down the yellow jersey. It's kind of repeat. And so with that in mind, but then there's Carapaz. It's EF. Of course EF wants this thing. Of course Carapaz would like this. What are the odds that he's going to be winning overall? You're going to hope you're going to be able to do, like Rigoberto Urán and try to get on the podium maybe at the last day or something. Anyway, that's the hope that they would have, and maybe that will happen. However, here it is. So in the meantime, Johnny Wigailis did mention that the team did a whole breakdown. They did the math, and they figured what they would have to do. So there you go. Those are some things to set up. Now let's get into the actual race itself. What I did yesterday, I broke down who was in the leads of all the competitions. Maybe we'll do that first. We don't want stage. Let's go. I don't want to spoil it here. It's spoiler. You guys, if you're watching this show, Pro Cycling Stats is down. Cloud Flare. Let's see if we could get it up. There we go. Okay, Tour de France, let's go to stage 2 and look at the results for everything here. What I want to do with this is simply just give you an idea of who's in what jerseys going into it. Obviously, the stage winner was by Vauquelin. Tadej's in the yellow jersey. We talked about that with a 4-way tie. Points jersey, Abramson went into the lead, or he has that because I think he did before. And then there's a breakdown because he also has the KOM jersey, and it's order of, as you can see here, which is GC, points, KOM, youth, teams type of thing. So youth jersey, you wear the yellow jersey if you have those other ones. I think the youth takes it over the KOM and the points perhaps, but you're going to have if you share the points and the KOM, you're going to be wearing the points jersey. And so Abramson is wearing, Jonas there is wearing the points. So Valentin Madouas will wear the yellow jersey, or the polka dots. Remco is going to be in white today. He should be, at least. And the team's jersey there's no jersey. They wear helmets, I think, for Team Movistar. Okay, let's go straight to the actual race today and see if we can give a breakdown of the tier of the race. So there's not much to go on. The break doesn't happen. It was 236 kilometers. No one's really making any efforts. There's some bore that's going to be taken into this. So you're hoping that the riders, at least, maybe there's a look. Arkea just won yesterday. They might not be going. Abramson, he's not going to go into the break with Uno X. So you need some of these low tier teams to get their shit together. Wanty, they're actually looking for a sprint today, so they're not going to be going up there. So Total Direct Energies, I don't know. Some of these teams need to get up there because you need to have some reason for this race to move itself forward. Abramson, he just kind of shows off real quick. in the green jersey. But what he ends up doing is I think he goes and gets himself some KOM points right away. No big deal. No one really fights him on that. And let me say real quick. So you've seen this before, at least last year, and even then the year before. Magnus Court, was it last year? Magnus Court. Nilsson was getting the polka dot jersey. Nilsson Palace trying for it as well. And they really stacked a lot of points up early. Did a lot of work, many days out there getting these short little climbs like Abramson has been doing. And then as soon as they hit the first big climbs, all that work they had done just shatters, and they're not in play anymore because they did so much work. I don't know if Palace is going to be going for those, but he's been just silent. You haven't seen much of him. I think a better thing for a guy that can actually climb like that and get the polka dot jersey is you leave these early ones out. You just leave them alone and you save your powder for the big climbs. However, there was an early intermediate sprint going on. You had Gourmet up there. You had Pedersen. You had Arkea in the mix. But in the end, it was Pedersen actually that got that over Philipsen. I think Kalkard was up there, Gaviria, Gourmet. And Abramson actually got a few points as well. Then you had a few things. Smart Cavendish Day. I'm wearing my Eddie Merckx t-shirt. 34 wins in the Tour de France. He's split there with Mark Cavendish. Is Cavendish going to go over the top? I've made bold predictions. You're not going to see him getting in the top 10. Okay, I think that's a little extreme, but I wanted to make an extreme statement here. I just think that's where you're going to be. It's my prediction, but if he wins, I wouldn't be surprised at either. Mark Cavendish does a bike change. This seemed unnecessary. Matter of fact, Eurosport, they said, hey, when you see Cavendish do these bike changes, glasses, he's doing this stuff like this, he is so dialed in, he is so focused, that's why he's doing it. Really? It seems a little bit ridiculous, but there you go. That's their prediction of it. Gorgeous area out there in Italy. It's the last day in Italy. Tomorrow they do go into France, so we're finally going to get the Tour de France. Heading out. First, one of the KOMs going over here, a Sombrero, for some reason with Red Bull, decides to hit up. He takes that KOM quite easily, so he's got 1 point on the KOM. However, at 66 kilometers to go, you had Grigori, I think his name is, rider for Total Direct Energies. He decides to head out. Look, here's what's going to get him. He goes out in the break. It's solo. It's Greliar. That's who it is. There's no chance for he's going to win, but he's going to take the most aggressive rider prize for the day. There you go. So you get to have some time out of there. This is what we need for Total Direct Energy. Go out there, and then the teams will chase you down, which they are doing quite nicely. We started getting into some roundabouts here, going in, and boom, Casper Asgreen goes down. He did a weird thing where he pulled himself along the cement to get out of the way of the cars after this, and he did get back on his bike. And see there, look at him scooting across, leaving his bike. I guess he couldn't stand up. It was a little odd. But you just wanted to make sure, and it didn't look good. It was like cuts on the front of his shorts there. Their medics ran out. He did get back up on his bike and up and running. Bruno Amaral, he went down, and that was the one where he was just kind of coming around a corner. You can kind of see it here, right up here, and he sticks his foot out. I don't know what the deal was. Maybe he hit something in the road. Maybe it was a bottle, and he just went down. And there you go. There's two of them. But here's the crushing one for the sprint, in my opinion, because I don't know if you have maybe as much chaos. These guys cause chaos themselves, but this is a different kind of chaos. This is Matthew van der Poel at 6.2 kilometers to go. He had a mechanical, and it must have been bad enough where he couldn't even pedal and try to get the car up there, because he just pulled over to the side of the road, stood there on the blower for a while. They finally got to him. He did try to make a valiant attempt to get back in, but it was no go. 2.8. Remember, the safe zone for kilometers now is 5 kilometers, and so we had 2.8 kilometers to go here. You had the whole entire EF team on the front. Bettiol is pushing it, and of course Phil and Paul say, hey, they're going for Van Rensburg, and I'm like, one, that's a little early for them to be on the front if they're going for him. I know he can sprint okay, but he's more of a reduced field sprinter. This is Carapaz. Immediately I was like, this is all Carapaz going here. They want to move him in position. He just has to kind of fight with the sprinters, be on that back little section of them, and he is possibly, and maybe Tadej doesn't want it. Tadej just sits back and lets it happen once you come into the sprint spots here. And that was my initial reaction, and we'll see how that plays out. Matthew Van Der Poel says I'm out. I can't do it. And there you go. EF is up there on the front. They're pulling. You've got now Lotto Destiny with De Lee, the Belgian champion. Remember, we just saw him beat in a hands down sprint, toe to toe, and really good against Philipsen for the national championships. Mads Pedersen's Trek team is up there. Once again, you can still see EF. You can see Cofidis up there. DSM is coming, I imagine, for Degenkolb. I don't really see the Philipsen team, Alpecin de Koenig. I don't know where they are. Maybe they said we're not going to really even do it because we didn't have Van der Poel. I don't know. But here at 2.3 on the left-hand side, you can see way back in there, a crash happens. This crash takes out some big-time riders, and it only takes out, as far as injuries go, it appears to be the Israel Premier Tech team and a few others. No big other riders that I could tell went down. However, Cavendish is now not in the mix. Philipsen's not in the mix, and perhaps a few other good sprinters and their teams. And so now you have a very reduced field. The GC leaders, Tadej, Evenepoel, Jonas, all come in at a later time. You don't really see much about Carapaz, but we'll get to that in a second here. You can see it looks like a Groupama rider and, decathlon rider and a Israel Premier Tech rider are kind of saying some shit to each other with the Cofidis rider. I don't know what's going on there. However, 1.9K to go. Wanty team comes to the front. And by the way, they come to the front with the intent not to race for Biniam Girmay, but they are racing for their other sprinter, and his name is, let's go here, Wanty Intermarché. I had it earlier. Where'd it go? Gerben Thiessen. There you go. So they kept showing him on the screen, Gerben Thiessen. They're like, hey, this is the guy. And yeah, the team admitted at the end that that's who they were actually going for. They come around this last corner. The team drops him off in good position. The decathlon team hits the front. Pedersen hits the front, and on his wheel is De Lee. He leaves a little gap open up on the right-hand barrier, and up that comes Biniam Girmay, who'd come around that last corner, I want to say about 15th place or so back there. Decent position when you're strung out. It's a little bit behind, but then everything hits the front, and Biniam takes off from the corner. He hits that over on the side. You could see Mads Pedersen coming down the middle. He does deviate, and when that deviation over the center line is Arnaud De Lee. De Lee deviates as well. De Lee then pushes further. He pushes Groenewegen into the barrier, and Girmay comes out, posts up front. You had Gaviria up there. You had De Lee. You had Mads Pedersen, Groenewegen. And we'll go through the Cockard, I think it was up there, and maybe even Debenkold. But you can see, look at this tiny field here, and then everything is stretched out. And right on the back, can you see who's right on the back here? Carapaz. Carapaz comes across with the front group, getting in the top 15, something a lot of the sprinters wish they could have maybe done today. And here's the overhead. Here's the overhead. Mads Pedersen starts to drift a little bit. He comes over from the left side, goes over the side here, and the lead goes with him. Girmay, though, has a gap over on his side. He's able to squeeze through, punch it hard, and here's Dylan Groenewegen kind of complaining about Arnaud De Lee getting pushed kind of close to the barriers, and I understand it's not what everybody wants, but I didn't think it was enough to really get any relegation. They're going to be introducing this new yellow card situation coming up pretty soon, and when they have this yellow card, I think it may actually help, because you're going to get dings in your riding for certain races, and those cards. Anyway, I don't know how the whole thing goes, but I think that would be a situation that might be actually useful, and so about time they get that introduced. So here we go. Let's get into the actual finish. By the way, I used to use Pro Cycling Net for interviews because this guy would just go there and post them up. He was in there, and sometimes it would overlap with like Eurosport or trying to remember the other ones. Anyway, the point is, I didn't get struck for using his interviews. He's not posting it. He must not be at the tour, so I'm not getting any of these interviews, because that would be great to post some of these up, which I'd actually like. But here's the results for the day: Biniam Girmay, Fernando Gaviria, Arnaud De Lee, Mads Pedersen, Dylan Groenewegen, Phil Bauhaus, Fabio Jakobsen. I'm sorry, I said Degenkolb. Mistake number probably 5 for this episode. Jakobsen. So he gets a top 10 there. Not bad. Davide Bellerini, Sam Bennett. That's who Decathlon was pulling in there for. Cockard, Rickard Turgis. And then you go Martin Vandenberg and Richard Carapaz. That's they split on that back section. They even got UCI points for this. Let me just talk about that real quick, which is Vandenberg. I think he won the day for Carapaz because Carapaz ends up, the other guys come back. Carapaz ends up in the yellow jersey, and that is who we are going to see in the yellow for tomorrow. So I think Vandenberg, you can see with him just being at the back, I think he was all about being a pilot fish. You're just going to stick on my wheel. I'm going to lead you through this. We're going to kind of sprint, but we're going to be at the back where we're not in trouble. And as soon as that wreck happened, they were golden. They just sat there, and then they just had to go in with that and make sure that their position. They were dead last in that front little group of 15 that it ended up being. However, the riders coming out were, coming over. Tadej came across the line with Evenepoel. And matter of fact, it was interesting. They were riding just next to each other. Jonas came back a little bit behind there. And with the placing situation, you can just see that Remco is riding next to Tadej, but just slightly half-wheeled behind him. It's kind of just like, hey, I'm not here to take any advantage, pop in front of you. I don't know that we want to be necessarily working, and we'll talk about work. Victor said he'll catch the replay. Great, like the episode, people, and get the algo going up here because we're going to keep doing this on a daily basis. Ackerman, Gerben Thiessen for Interwanti Marche. I don't know what happened with him. He was up there, and that's the team said they were leading him out, but Gourmet was in the mix in case things needed to go. And there you go. So let's talk about Gourmet real quick. Gourmet, Eritrean. Growing up, I had two of my best friends. One, my very best friend, he was from Ethiopia at the time. They said Ethiopia. But in case you didn't know, the Ethiopians, the communist regime there, took over a lot of that region, and Eritrea was part of that was engulfed into Ethiopia. He technically was Eritrean, which is what we're talking about, Gourmet, and then my other friend as well. I took them both. One of them did get into cycling, and he was okay, but he was really good into snowboarding, and then he actually made clothing and sold his company to Nike, and he made a ton of money with that. Good for him. The other one lives in Washington, D.C., and he was amazing at basketball, but he was not so good at cycling. I took him out several times. I don't know what the deal is. It's a nation that has some. They've been coming up for a small little African nation. They've been coming up as far as having some riders in here. It's kind of interesting. With that said, it was an interesting prospect to hear. Gourmet has won before. He won a stage in the Giro 2 years ago. Then popped the champagne bottle in his eye, and immediately he couldn't start the next day. Crazy. I think he even did he have the pink jersey maybe at that point too? Crazy situation. So I hope that didn't happen today. It was interesting that Eurosport kept saying he's the first black African to win. And they've got to make that because I think you've got South Africans that have won in the Tour de France before. So you can't just say, and they're white, so you can't just say he's the first and then actually one of them said, the first one from this continent. And I'm like, first of all, let's just ease up on the color situation. This dude's from Eritrea. He won. Great. Happy for everybody. But let's just calm ourselves down a little bit. At least Peacock was a little better than that. And they kept saying the person from Eritrea. Exactly. But you have some other riders. When Quebec was there, they had several riders from Eritrea. I'm trying to remember how many. Can't remember all the names. Anyway, super happy for Gourmet. He is a strong sprinter, and it totally does not shock me. And I'll say this about it, which is, okay, so you don't have Philipsen in there. Cab doesn't get in the mix, and a few other ones that got kind of mixed up, and their sprinters, teams are all wet. But he did beat Mads Pedersen. He did beat Groenewegen. He did beat Arnaud de Lee, who's the Belgian champion. Groenewegen's another Dutch national champion. So you don't want to take who else? What do you want him to do? So he didn't have Philipsen there, but he's won before and he's got strength. He's won a semi-classic, I believe, as well. So good for him. And can we just say, hey, it's Interwanti Marche's first win at the Tour de France. Congrats to them. Yesterday you had Arkea getting their first win. Congrats to them. 2 French riders, an Eritrean. What do you want? Who's going to be tomorrow then? Let's talk about that. Well, actually, before we do, let's walk through the whole GC. There you go. Carapaz on same time, but he moves down, up 3, and everyone else shifts down. Evenepoel still in behind Tadej, and then Jonas. Then we got Bardet, Bilbao, Martin, Bernal, Hindley, and whatnot down to Jorgensen in 13th place. Points jerseys, Gourmet goes up 29 places, into second place by getting the stage win, 66 points to 76. So Abramson is still in that position. The KOM, no changes there. Jonas Abramson, 24 points. That's probably going to change tomorrow. I know they go over the Galibier. Youth jersey didn't change, although Rodriguez and then moved up. Van Gils went down 2 places. I think that's just for placing positions because they're all the same on time. Pidcock drops down. Ayuso drops up as well. That was just a placing situation. Team Movistar is still in the lead. Let's take a look then at tomorrow's stage. A little bit more specific, and we'll probably talk about, is there a bonus? So there's bonus at the top of the climb, and I imagine, is that a time bonus? You usually have a little clock to denote that. Let's bring, I didn't even have this up on the stage, on the screen there. There you go. So there's a sprint early on, intermediate sprint, but it's on the first 18 kilometers. Then you got this long drag from 0 all the way up to 50 that's just climbing. So this is a day, although it's only 139 kilometers, 39.6, what did I say, 83 or 85 miles going into the books. It's got a ton of climbing because it goes from kilometer 0 to 50 all the way up to this Cat 2. Now this Cat 2 says 39.2 kilometers at 3.7%, but reality is it's from 0 to 50. Okay, so you're still in Italy there. Then you go down this and you go up the Col de Montegeneve, 8.3 at 6%. You drop down to the valley, and then basically from, I don't know, I'd say about 90 kilometers to 120, you're going to just be climbing. And the official climb is a 22.9. It's the Honor de Grands as well. So it's the highest point in the Tour de France this year at 2,627 meters. It's 22.9 at 5.1. It's just a slog. And then you drop down. So, you get a little reprieve there. If this is bonus at the top and it's time, you really have now created a situation that's pretty fantastic, which is a sprint to the top and maybe more time. But even if you don't hold it and they catch back on the downhill and you all come in together, unless there's a bonus at the finish, I'll have to check on that as well. Then you're really looking at a situation here where you may get a race to the top, which really is what it's going to be. Let's see the timetables. No, it's just when they're coming in. Complimentary results. We don't have any of those yet. KOM points. So here's the KOM on the Galibier. There's going to be 20 points, and then you got time bonuses at 8, 5, and 2, and climbing points of 20, 15, 12. They count those all the way down to 8. There's another KOM of 5, 3, 2, and 1. No other bonus times there, but then they do have bonuses at the finish, 10, 6, and 4. So let's say you got Jonas, or let's say Tadej breaks off there, wins over the top of the climb, gets 8 seconds. He can get, you can go over the top and get 8 and 10. Now, remember, last year we had a situation where it was very close with these two before the time trial, and that was the motorbike incident, okay, where Tadej's trying to get rid of Jonas. He keeps attacking him, and then the motorbike comes in the way, and he sits up, and then Jonas goes over the top of him and gets the bonus seconds over the top of the climb. That was, and then I think that's when Carlos Rodriguez actually caught them and ends up going down and getting all the bonus time at the finish. So it totally nullified Tadej, even though he probably should have come away from a day of getting extra bonus times, and there you go. I was going to read some news issues, and then we'll go on here. Let's just talk about this. This is talking about Evenepoel and Carapaz yesterday. Remco's efforts to bridge across to Vingegaard and Pogacar earned him the white jersey for his troubles. Quote, I had to do most of the work alone, Evenepoel explained in the mix zone afterwards. I think Richard came through once, only so I think it was thanks to me that we came back. But in the end, I think Tadej's attack was quite explosive, quite impressive. In the end, I think it's good that I came back to the guys and finished with them, and the others and arrived 20 seconds behind. It's better to be in front than behind. I think always in the beginning of the race, I need to find my explosivity, and I think that's what came out today. He had the legs were good, not super. Like I said before, I'm still looking at my best shape and trying to be up to go 100 to 105%. Wow, 105. I'm happy with today's effort. Is that drugging? Is that what he's admitted to? Because he can't go above 100. I'm happy with today's effort, and it was my best day on the bike. I didn't lose time to the two big favorites, and that's a positive thing. Okay, last thing I want to take a look here. We'll go back to the results, and I wanted to just look at today's results and then actually take a look at teams, because we did this before with the GC, but it's a little bit interesting. You can take a look and see exactly where which riders from which teams kind of blew it on the stage here. So here you go. Philipsen, he's 118th, so whatever, he probably got held up in that crash. Arnaud Demar, he comes up 22nd. He was kind of held up. Cavendish, 113th. He was obviously held up, but Davide Ballerini decided to keep going in there for top 10. Phil Bauhaus, he did get 6th place there for Bahrain. Cofidis Coquard in 10th. Decathlon, they had Sam Bennett. That's who Decathlon was going for. Sam Bennett in 9th place. EF, they had Vandenberg and Carapaz in the top there. Good for them. Paulus back here. Everyone else. No one lost time. So that's good to see for the group. Groupama, Lenny Martinez loses 4:14. What's going on with him? What really is going on with him? They didn't really have anybody for the sprint. You'd think maybe Stefan Kung. Ineos, no one lost time on their team as well. Bernal came in at 52nd, so they all got held up behind the race. Girmay for Intermarché, he gets the win. Gerben Thiessen in 16th, and Mike Tunison in 30th. They've got a decent lead-out team. Look at them all. No one lost time there. Oops, besides the little trick. Let's go to Israel. They had some guys hit the ground. Hopefully they're okay. I don't know who it was. Derek Geest didn't lose any time. All good for them. They didn't have a sprinter. Mads Pedersen gets 4th place. Stuyven was up there as well. Lotto Destiny, Arnold Delis. You know about that. In 3rd place. Movistar with Gaviria in 2nd. Good to see him make a resurgence here. Danny Van Poppel didn't really get to contest the sprint, and I don't know that he would be with a chance of with the overall. But he was 35th place. Soudal, they had 2 riders go down. Well, Jan Hurt, he was in 4:14. I don't know if that teeth thing is giving him a bother. But Casper Pedersen hit the ground as well. Otherwise, everybody good for them. DSM, they had Jakobsen up there in 7th place. He's just not what he used to be. I don't know what the deal is. Jayco, you had Dylan Groenewegen finally making a chance, but he did not. Everyone crushed themselves over on the far right side as they're coming up there instead of like trying to spread out and get yourself up. So sometimes we just don't see it because they all are so close, and you're getting guys quote unquote boxed in. You got to do what you got to do to get yourself out of there. So he had to win. We did not see Wout at all in the mix. I thought maybe we'd get a chance for him. Just really screwed up him and Philipsen screwed up my fantasy thing today. Jorgensen, everyone else looks fine. No one hit the deck, at least it didn't look like today. Anthony Turgis it was 12th for Total Energies. UAE, they all came in 38th and on the way back. They missed their spot in Uno X. Odd Christian Eiking, no one inside the top 70 for that group today. And where is Abrahamson? How come I don't see him even out? There he is, 151st, so he's still in the green jersey. All right, so tomorrow we know what's in store for everybody coming up here, and there we go. There's the music hitting in. All right, stage 4 tomorrow. Like I said, it will be let's try it around midday. If I can't do midday, I will probably post up a schedule, so you'll see the notification coming in a little bit early. But the hope is midday. It depends on how quick my settlement conference goes tomorrow. Other than that, stage 4 should be a banger. We're going to have all kinds of fun stuff happening tomorrow. So, see ya tomorrow.
Froome now, he goes on the offensive, he goes on the attack over the top of this final climb, and nobody at the moment can go with him.
He had 75 kilometres to go, and now under the Flamme Rouge, there he is, still the virtual Maglia Rosa on the road. Who would have thought it at the start of today? But Chris